Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
I see it's old friends today. That's great.
You calling old?
Well,
And you gotta watch that.
we'll do our semantics after church. But you're right. Good friends. I'll say good friends. Let's make sure our cell phones are in meditation mode. And today we have Bill as our musical guest, and Anne will be reading. Woo! And so stand when you're ready, and we'll sing I Celebrate, our joy song together.
Want me to use the mic?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is from Dr. Wayne Dyer's Legacy of Wisdom. I was preparing to speak at an I Can Do It conference, and I decided to bring an orange on stage with me as a prop for my lecture. I opened a conversation with a bright young fellow of about 12 who was sitting in the front row. If I were to squeeze this orange as hard as I could, what would come out, I asked him. He looked at me like I was a little crazy and said, juice, of course. Do you think apple juice could come out of it? No, he laughed. What about grapefruit juice? No. What would come out of it? Orange juice, of course. Why? Why, when you squeeze an orange, does orange juice come out? He may have been getting a little exasperated with me at this point. Well, it's an orange, and that's what's inside. I nodded. Let's assume that this orange isn't an orange, but it's you, and someone squeezes you, puts pressure on you, says something you don't like, offends you, and out of you comes anger, hatred, bitterness, fear. Why? The answer, as our young friend has told us, is because that's what's inside. It's one of the great lessons of life. What comes out when life squeezes you? When someone hurts or offends you? If anger, pain, and fear come out of you, it's because that's what's inside. It doesn't matter who does the squeezing. Your mother, your brother, your children, your boss, the government. If someone says something about you that you don't like, what comes out of you is what's inside. And what's inside is up to you. It's your choice. When someone puts the pressure on you and out of you comes anything other than love, it's because that's what you've allowed to be inside. Once you take away all those negative things that you don't want in your life and replace them with love, you'll find yourself living a highly functioning life. Thanks, my young friend, and here's an orange for you. Some of our favorite quotes from Wayne Dyer. Circumstances do not make a man, they reveal him. You are not stuck where you are unless you decide to be.
Him.
Well, I guess you won't ask me to do this again.
You're gonna get more experience.
Our first hymn is going to be How Great Thou Art, verses 1 or 2, and 2.
What
One
page?
and 2, and
Page 6.
page 6.
It doesn't say that. Oh, it doesn't?
It's been a while.
Pam, not yet, not yet.
This morning, excuse me. This morning, I'm reading from Philippians, the 4th chapter. And it says, very short, I know how to abound. I know how to abound. You do. You absolutely do. Some people have forgotten, but it's posited deep within them, the knowledge. And if they ever read the words of Jesus, they'll find them right there. The way to abound. You know, Emmett Fox put it in 8 words. It's very simple. Not easy, but very simple. Stop thinking about the problem. Think about God. Golden key. Everybody's heard of it. But how often do we do it? We forget. And yet that is the way to abound. That is the way to draw wonderful experiences, healings, understanding, insights, inspirations into our minds, into our circle of friends, into everything we do. Stop thinking about the problem. Stop fixating, broken recording, if you want to put it that way, on the problem, the challenge. Think about God. And you'll find that that challenge, that problem, turns into an opportunity. It turns into a spiritual opportunity. It's something that you will learn, and learn well, especially if it's a little painful. You will learn and you will abound that much more. Isn't that wonderful? Simple, true, hard to remember. Hard to remember. Especially when the lights go out. You have no electricity. The house is getting cold. This is what happened to me last night. But think about God anyway. God will inspire the APCO to come and fix the lines. But far beyond that, God will enable what you need, what will prosper you spiritually, mentally, emotionally. God will help that come into your life. I marvel sometimes, I truly marvel at the way it works so consistently. And you know this is true as well, because you've all done it. You have all done it. I'm just here to remind you, to say, remember this, don't forget this is important. 8 words. Stop thinking about the problem. Think about God. Thank you.
Looks like I'm up. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. First tune I'm going to do was made popular by, I call it the Golden Voice, Nat King Cole. It's called It's Only a Paper Moon. So I guess some of you are too young to remember this song. But if you should remember it, you can sing along. Try to get this thing to work. I've been having trouble with it.
Thank you. And talking about remembering, I forgot to do our divine science statement of being. So let's do that now. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. And let's do one of those things that many of us fail to take the time to do, and that is to sit quietly and make sure that our bodies are relaxed, our faces are not tense, our shoulders go down, down, down. Our chests go out a little bit. Arms and hands are relaxed. Back, stomach, legs, and feet. No tension. No tension anywhere. And just allow ourselves to be what we are. In the silence of our own being. We gently remind ourselves that I am God individualized. I am that power, that love, that presence, that good, grit small. I am the light of the world. And that light lights us from within. It flows out of us and touches the people around us with whatever we are holding in mind at the time. It blesses them, or it might sear them a little bit, depending on where we are mentally. But right now, we are in light. It bathes us from within out. It is the light of the presence of God. That presence, blessing and supporting and gently leading us if we permit it. Oh, just to bask in this light. It's whole-making, it's healing, it's inspiring, it's uplifting. We're left feeling better just because we spent those few moments basking, relaxed, absorbing, rejoicing in the light of God within us. He he pronounced each and all good and very good. And that is what we truly are. Good and very good. As we feel it more and more deeply within, as we enjoy the light more and more, that good oozes out of us in words, in our facial expressions, in our deeds, certainly through our thoughts. And that, my dear friends, is God in action through you. But the passage of it, the creation of it within you, the renewing of it, that is the light within you as you still yourself, that blesses you more than anyone else. In the 90 seconds that we're going to have in just a few moments, let us include all the people whose names I hold in my hand, as well as those who are on our prayer list. If I could feel the weight of the pain that is probably in my hand, I would have to drop it. I couldn't hold it. But God can and does with our help. So now, beginning our 90 seconds, let us bask in the light and bring everybody whose names are on these prayer lists. Bring our friends and neighbors who need prayer. Bring them along with you and bless them in a unique and valuable way. Come unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you a sense of rest and a sense of fulfillment and ease confidence and blessing in a way that nothing else can accomplish. For peace, for inner quietude. For the love of God. And the light within. We give deepest thanks. Amen.
Amen.
And now shall we say the affirmative of Lord's Prayer. Excuse me. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Now givest us this day our daily bread. Now forgivest us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but dost deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Excuse me. Be ye perfect or not? Well, I read this interesting newspaper article a little while back that the millennials, that those people who are from 22 to 37, and even the Generation X's who are from 38 to 53, have been found to have a higher number of perfectionists than psychologists have seen in recent generations. They have such unrealistically high expectations of themselves that they have a way of living with a lot of anxiety and depression and certainly severe self-criticism. In other words, a lot of suffering, inner suffering. An example of just how unrealistic a person who carries this enormous load of perfectionism can be. I have to tell you about this 8th grader. 8th grade, what is it, 12, 13, something like that. Yeah, junior high. He was on the junior high swimming team, and he loved to swim, loved to compete, loved to work at it. But while he was winning a lot of the races, he wasn't winning all of them, not all of them. And he began thinking that he should already be an Olympic grade talent, a future Michael Phelps who would win every time he competed. And having such unrealistic expectations of himself, expectations that he could not fulfill, not as a 13-year-old, he quit the team. He just walked away from it. And as much as he enjoyed swimming, that must have caused him a lot of pain. Actually, these perfectionists aren't just critical of themselves, expecting themselves to be perfect in everything they do. They think other people expect that same perfection from them. And they, in turn, have unrealistic expectations of other people. It's a vicious circle. With these kinds of thinking habits, they're often mentally setting themselves up for failure, actually, at least in their own eyes. They might win, but in their own eyes, if it isn't perfect, they don't get the satisfaction out of it, even when they achieve. Now, this can cause some perfectionists to become chronic procrastinators. They're frozen in the fear of failure. Perfectionists are a lot less likely than their peers to seek out resources to help them, for instance, in college. Well, they feel like they can do it alone. They don't need the professor, they don't need help in any way. They think, I'm perfect. I can do it perfectly. One can only imagine how painful it must be to live day in and day out with this awful fear of failure and disapproval of other people. Sometimes these perfectionist ideas and ongoing thoughts can even trigger thoughts of suicide. Now, this problem has become so common that colleges have started looking out for students who are perfectionists rather than what they call healthy strivers. Big difference between the two. They're trying to intervene and help these young people to understand that the standard of behavior is trying your hardest, trying your best, not trying to give more than 100% or you'll be a total failure. Big difference. Big difference. Now, I might be just talking about myself. Maybe nobody in the room gets anal about certain things, but me. But I'm not always satisfied with trying my hardest. There are certain things that I have to be almost careful about because I can get too focused on them. I sometimes try to get as close as my imagination can imagine to perfect in certain things. And I'll keep on working at it and working at it and working at it until time runs out, usually. But I do not live with a sense of fear of failure. Not that, no. I have a friend whose gifts are always so beautifully wrapped that you almost hate to open them because, then you have to tear them all apart. And the gift is always lovely too, but that's one of her things. Just like I have certain things, and maybe you have certain things that you focus on with a great deal of energy. Now, she and I are very different in this. I, on the other hand, drop a gift into a bag, stuff in a few pieces of tissue paper, that's it. Just don't have the time. But I love receiving these gorgeous things. Most, if not all of us, have certain things that require time and focus and a very high standard of performance from us. That's how we feel about it. We want to get them perfect. The danger comes when we miss the mark. But we must never allow any failure or failures or mistake or many mistakes to define us or deter us from giving our very best effort to do certain or perhaps many things as perfectly as we possibly can. Because there's a satisfaction we get out of doing it. And it sometimes is a source of satisfaction to others as well. Perfectionism, though, with its anxiety, its negative inner messages, its lowered self-esteem, and its sometimes depression, because They don't quite get there. They don't quite make it perfectly. That's not where we're going to be. That's not where we want to go. Now, where do we want to go? What do we want to what is our attitude going to be toward this? What did the Master Jesus say on this subject? The King James Version, it's Matthew 5:48. It says this, "Be ye perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." Ouch! Is Jesus telling us that we have to be as perfect as God? Please. That in and of itself is enough to make somebody anxious. Fortunately, we are not wedded to the King James Version of the Bible. We can draw from other translations of the Bible. And what we learn from the Lamsa translation is the Aramaic word gemira, which in the King James Version translates to perfect. But it could be translated as complete, whole, mature, thorough, finished, inclusive, rounded out. It could be any one of those words, and they put perfect in that quote. Now, Dr. Lamsa says that this verse does not refer to being perfect in character like God. It refers to being perfect or complete in understanding. Now, Jesus knew that nobody can be perfect as God, for heaven's sakes. In the language that Jesus spoke, Aramaic, gemira meant that people should have a complete understanding of God's kingdom. They should be spiritually oriented. They were to be open and receptive to all people, though, and treat everyone in the same way that God would treat them. Wow, that's a different view entirely, isn't it? They were not to be exclusive, they were to be inclusive, just as God has the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. His love actually encompasses all of us. So, the quote really means, and this is the way it is in the Lamsa translation, be inclusive, even as your Father who is in heaven is inclusive. That's a different picture. Inclusive. You extend your respect, your goodwill, your desire for all to prosper, for all our children of God, no matter who they are or where they are. Everyone is, after all, connected. We are all connected because we are all one in this one magnificent divine energy. What you and I do to or for anyone, what we hope for others, we do for ourselves as well. It all starts inside, it goes out, and it comes back. We have to be inclusive. It's certainly good to know that Jesus wasn't demanding perfection from us. Ooh. But this really doesn't help us with the subject of perfectionism. Perfectionism is another order of things. Now, if this is something, perfectionism is something that bothers you at times, that gives you some trouble occasionally, creates problems. If it ever makes you anxious or self-critical or even fearful, it is absolutely necessary that you get realistic. And what am I talking about, realistic? Well, we have to remind ourselves of what is real. What is real is omnipresence. What is real is God everywhere. God, the glorious, living, creative presence that awaits our turning to Him, asking for help, knowing that God wants harmony and abundance in your life even more than you do. Abundance of every sort. What else do we need to do that honors God and the image of God within us? What do we need to do? We need to eradicate self-criticism from our minds. We need to replace it with encouragement. We have to be cheerleaders for ourselves, not witches and werewolves with a whip mentally. We have to eradicate that from our minds. To do less is to criticize God's handiwork in you. Next, how can we think and act in a way that blesses and helps everybody that we contact, as well as strengthening and enhancing ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and most of all spiritually? How? When we find ourselves in certain situations that hold a lot of inharmony and discord, we take responsibility for our part of the problem, and then exercise patience and try our best to see the other person's point of view. We seek solutions that honor everybody. Meister Eckhart said, don't be concerned about outcomes. Only do your best at any one time. Simple. Just do your best. Don't worry about the outcome. Our very best is very good indeed. And given time, the outcomes will be proved to be very good as well. We need to bring integrity and honesty to every encounter. We have to give what we want to get from life. We have to treat everyone with kindness. This kind of behavior may not qualify for perfection. We certainly might make a whole bunch of mistakes as we do it, but our good intention, our sincere effort is going to be doing God's will, which is all these things, which needs to be, in fact, our greatest desire, to do His will. When somebody called Jesus good master, and this quote is in all the three synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus replied, "Why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is God." Oh my goodness. If this great master of life didn't see himself as good, saw himself as making mistakes, we should never fear that our making mistakes should trouble us. Not for very long, at any rate. But only know that our goals, our intentions, and our actions need to be the highest we can make it. And all will be well. Let's go with it. Yes, we do try and try and try at certain things. Those things that, I don't know, perhaps we inherited them from our parents, and perhaps a difficult experience taught us. Perhaps a love of something inspired us. But we all have our things, or most of us do, where we put out every ounce of effort we can because we want it perfect. And many times it is, or close. And sometimes it isn't. But we remember that no matter how many failures, no matter how many mistakes, we are not alone. Even Jesus of Nazareth made his mistakes. Our intention, our desire to bring the best of ourselves to life will bless us and bless everyone around us. What we give, we get. For this great law, for that inner impulse to give, to be, to do the best, we give deepest thanks. Amen.
Speaking of perfection, I'm going to be playing a tune called Joy Spring. It's written by a guy named Clifford Brown, who was a famous trumpet player out of Wilmington, Delaware, who disappointed his parents because they wanted him to become a chemical engineer. Oh, well. But Clifford tended to write tunes that had lots of triplets in it, lots of fast notes. So if you hear something that doesn't sound quite right, it's not a wrong note. It's just me being creative.
morning. As we prepare to share other gifts with each other, would you say with me our blessing of the gifts? Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, and the source of all good. This acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I'm open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God. We'll have a prayer basket coming around for you all to choose
There we go. We got it.
a person to pray for.
Bless yourselves by taking what's in
Thank you very much. Here comes the basket. Thank you, Pam. Mhm.
Morning. Good morning. We're going to get the important thing done first, and that's January birthdays. And nobody's sure that has a birthday today, but Mara has a birthday, Mark Edwards, Nancy's father has a birthday this month, and nobody's sure, but we're going to sing happy birthday. There is birthday cake next door. Okay, let's see, new orders of service, please take them home, so you'll have them. I'll always have to print more. It has the events on there. Sometimes the time will change on there, and I will let you know when that happens, which is going to happen this Saturday night. We're going to show the movie, The Power of Forgiveness. We've been talking about that. I asked that a lot of people come see this. It's a very powerful movie. We saw it at the library, some of us. And
It's
some
actually
people,
not this, you moved the date already? And the date?
this coming Saturday night.
The 12th?
Yeah. Isn't that the 12th? Yes.
We're speeding by.
Don't confuse me.
No, I thought I got it wrong.
No, it's this Saturday night. And what we're going to do is we're going to have pizza before the movie. So if you're coming, we need to know ahead of time, and we'll ask for a $5 donation for the pizza and drinks, and then we'll watch the movie around 7 o'clock. So be here at 6:30 for the pizza, and then we'll watch the movie. So I'll ask you to tell me that you're coming to the movies and eating pizza after the church, so I'll know. And I'll get a verification later on in the week about that. But it's a wonderful movie. I think getting out the first of this year is a good movie for people to see, and maybe open up your hearts a little bit to somebody that you might want to forgive something for. So anyhow, do ask that you try to come to that. Also, this Thursday night is Ann's craft show, your craft class. Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, we're still going to make the affirmation books. If people have started, bring the one that you have, and if you haven't come and you'd like to come, I have a few more books to begin if they want to.
Okay. And then the next week will be Pam's journaling class, and did you want to say something about that? Because you won't be here next Sunday. Well,
Yeah,
Pam
I
can't
did.
come in every
I
Sunday.
did.
So.
Well, if I came every Sunday, I'd be a better publicist. But because I won't be here next Sunday, I just want to re-energize those of you who might be interested in journaling. It's a new year. We have some diehards working on projects, myself included. And I've got some other projects and prompts to share with you. So I would encourage anybody who wants to attempt this. It's perfect for finding out what kind of juice you have inside you when you get squeezed. And it's a good way to be spiritually accountable without involving somebody else judging you. So I just want to encourage anybody who wants to try it to come along, and we're going to crank that up for the new year.
And all of these classes, I mean, if you come today, I mean, this week, and you don't come for a month, it's okay. You can come whenever you want to. It's not like you have to be there every week. We'd like for you to be, but it's one of these things that we're trying to get people involved in doing things that they like to do. So anyhow, and then later on in the month, and her, I can't even talk, I've been like Maurita coughing back there. Nancy will have her healing circle, you know, for 4/24. So we'll be talking about that later. But anyhow, it's all on here, so feel free to take these home, and like I said, we can print many, many more. Also, at the end of the month, the last Sunday of the month, we will have a congregational meeting after the service. We were supposed to have it in December, but because of the weather and different things that went on, we didn't get it done, so we will have it in January, the end of January, the congregational meeting. Let's see, got so many notes here. I wanted to, I'm passing around the flower calendar again. A lot of people signed up, which is great, wonderful, thank you, and got some few extra spaces, so they're $20. You can't beat it. The lady delivers them, you can do what you want. You can give them to somebody, or you can take them home for yourself. This week's flowers were sponsored by Martha for Happy New Year. We had two different people to give them to. Neither one of them showed up, so Martha, you can pick somebody else or take them home or whatever. So anyhow, we appreciate you that. It's always nice to have the fresh flowers, and so we appreciate everybody that donates. Let's see, I've got so many notes here. Also, last week I announced that the Federation is doing an on-class line starting next Sunday night at 7 o'clock. It's the principals class. And if you're interested in doing it, I have the information on online class. Yeah. So if you're interested, I've got the information, and I'll give it to you so you can sign up. But you have to sign. It starts next Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Do what? Okay. Also, I like to keep people informed as things that are going on, happy news, bad news, whatever. But anyhow, Jenny has a new grandchild. I don't know, can't remember if it's a daughter or son.
Birthday song.
So,
Maya Ray,
okay.
Liller. She's adorable with one big dimple.
Of course she is. Congratulations. And on a final note, and I don't know if Maurita has anything to say, but I know that a lot of times we look around and there's people that aren't at church, and some people haven't been here for a while, and people come up and say, we're so-and-so, or whatever. But you know, it would be nice if you called them or you text them instead of just me doing it. It's, you know, yes, Maurita and I, all of us are spokesmen for this church. So if somebody's not here for a month or so, or even a couple weeks, text them. You don't have to call them, just text them. Let them know that you're thinking about them. It's better than people come up and say, well, Nancy hasn't been here, what's wrong with her? Well, it would be nice if you called Nancy and said, you okay? You know, so I'm just putting that out there because a lot of people tend to just, you know, they ask about people, but if you really want to know where they are and what's going on with them, it's nice for them to know that you're thinking about them. It's just not one or two people just asking about it. You know, me calling and saying, well, so-and-so asked. Well, I shouldn't have to say so-and-so asked. So I'm just putting it out there for people because there's some people that haven't been to church for a while and they have some issues going on. But, you know, and they may not tell you about it, but it'd be nice for you to just say, I'm thinking about you. Or send them a card, whatever. And speaking of cards, Ann is now have her little store, her side of the store here, with her gorgeous cards that she makes all the time. And anybody has a birthday on this list, you get one from the church, and they're made by Ann. So anyhow, she has that going on. And we're going to have the new stuff out for the store, Christmas stuff. So Martha will be putting out some other stuff. But if you have anything you want to donate to the store, hey, we'll take it. Because we made quite a bit of money, and we've been talking about that at the congregation meeting from the store this year. You'd be surprised at a dollar here and a dollar there, what we got in, so.
And boy, do I love my radio.
Well, well, good. So, does anybody, Marie, did you have anything, or
No, just, you're having Wednesday night.
Wednesday night class, and, yeah, we won't have anything, yeah, we will have her class on, I'm confused with these weeks, it's Ann's class on Thursday, the movie on Saturday night, so, okay? All right, let's get on with this song over here. I forgot I was supposed to be doing.
And you can stand when ready and we'll sing together. Right?
Shall we make a circle?
Remember? Get that?
Close enough? Spread out. Yeah, I'm.
Hand in hand, blessing each other, rejoicing that we are together to share a few moments of remembering the omnipresence of God and doing our best, dedicating ourselves to bringing more light, love, kindness, and understanding into this world. That's His will, and it is our delight, our inner joy to do it. For the simple recipes, for remembering those simple recipes. Father, mother, friend, leader, inspirer, we give deepest thanks. Amen.
Amen.